In this video, I trade my Plaid for a Taycan Turbo GT Weissach, do a full review on the car, hit 0 to 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds, troll my 911 Turbo S, and prepare for our race versus the Tesla Plaid Track Pack and Lucid Air Sapphire.
Hey everybody, that's right. These are the keys to the Porsche Taycan Turbo GT Weissach edition. My buddy Taurus was awesome enough to trade. That's right, we did trade, but only temporarily for my Tesla Plaid. So he drove my Tesla Plaid around Miami with the Track Pack, and he was awesome enough to let me borrow this Taycan Turbo GT. This is purple sky metallic. This is the one, pretty much the spec you've been seeing in all their videos, hitting the Nürburgring, hitting the production ring time for an electric car. This is the quickest production electric car ever run around the ring. We got 21-inch lightweight forged wheels with this optional satin neodyme finish. This is a $1,300 option. As we come around the side, we got carbon fiber mirrors, carbon fiber pillar right here, and of course, this is the Weissach package. So it has the Weissach wing adds 310 pounds of downforce to the rear, and we got a nice set of Trofeo RS tires. These are super sticky Pirelli P0 tires, and look at the size of these ceramic brakes all over. What a really cool spec. Now the charge port is over here on this side. This takes your standard charger right here, and you can also open this up for the super fast charging. Because this is the Weissach package, the regular Taycan has the chargers on both sides, but to save weight, they actually eliminated the one on the left side, so it's only on the right side here. New for 2025 on the Taycan is a completely new design on the front and rear, and because this is the Weissach, you can see we got additional aero pieces here. I believe this front air dam adds another 175 pounds of downforce to combine with the large rear wing. Onto the rear here, we got the blacked out Turbo GT badge. I believe this is the optional light bar right here, which lights up in red as well. For trunk space, there's not much. If we pop this open, you can see we got just a limited kind of trunk. A little compartment that opens down here, that's where we store the charger. This is the charger bag right here. Now, right now the car is in slam mode, it's in Sport Plus, it's actually pretty low. And when you open the door to get in, the car actually pops up a huge amount. So now it's easy to get in and out of the car. And once you get in, the car drops back down to the lowest level. Now the base price of the Turbo GT is about $231,000, and free of charge you can get the Weissach package, which drops 165 pounds from the regular Turbo GT. And they do this by doing some pretty crazy things. The first and most craziest thing you'll see is onto the interior, and it's not in the front. Actually, it just popped up, that's pretty cool. Actually, you can see we got a nice set of Alcantara and leather mixed seats. Now, in Europe, you can get these as buckets as well and save any more weight, but in the US, you can only get these regular power seats. Now this is a four-door car. When you open up the rear doors, you're gonna be really surprised in what you see, or actually what you do not see. Inside here, you can see there is no back seats to save weight. So dumping the rear seats and replacing it with this carbon fiber storage unit saves 45 pounds. Some additional weight savings, they make thinner glass right here to save some weight. There are no rear speakers. I guess if you have no rear passengers, you don't need rear speakers. That saves some weight as well. They've also eliminated the soft closed doors that usually come. So if you just close it lightly, that does not work. You gotta actually slam it pretty hard. So being a GT car and a Weissach on top of that, it's supposed to be the lightest Porsche can do. And we're gonna test that out right now. We're gonna put the Taycan Turbo GT Weissach on the scales. Down here you can see I got my scale package here and some ramps. We're gonna load this up and let's see, I'm guessing about 5,000 pounds, even with all the lightweight options. The truth on the scales, let's see what we got here. Wow, under 5,000, we got 4,973 pounds. And actually I just remembered, I think we got the charger in the trunk. So this might actually be a little bit lighter. Let's see what we got in here. Anything in here we could take out? Yes, there we go. This thing looks heavy. Let's pull this out. All right, dropped a little more weight and we came in at 4,958 pounds. So compared to my Tesla Plaid Track Pack, the Taycan used to be a lot higher, but this is about 120 pounds heavier than my Tesla Model S. So while the trunk is a little small, you do have the additional space up behind the back seats. There's also a front bonnet area that we can open, and you can see we have some more storage in here. Popping this open, you can see we can fit a decent sized suitcase right there. Got our front license plate package, and it looks like where I put our washer fluid in. Now Porsche says the Taycan does 0 to 60 in just 2.1 seconds. And of course I got the Draggy and we're gonna do a complete 0 to 60 test and quarter mile test and just see how fast the Taycan Turbo GT with the Weissach package is. So let's talk about power. Now I had to actually call Porsche on this to check in because there's been a lot of stuff online. It's a little bit conflicting. This car has 1,092 horsepower, but just for 2 seconds. That's only when you're using launch control. So to get that 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds, it's using max power 1,092 horsepower. Now continuing on through the quarter mile of the acceleration, it's gonna make a little less horsepower at 1,019 horsepower. And that's enabled by using either launch control or there's also like a turbo boost button called the TAC mode. You can either hit the right paddle to engage this when you're rolling, or you can press the button to engage it. Or when you're launching the car, it gives you full max power for about 10 seconds. So normally when you're driving around in the Taycan Turbo GT, you got 777 horsepower, but when you press the attack button or pull that paddle, that adds 160 horsepower, so you get that 937 horsepower. And when you use the launch control, you get either 1,019 or 1,092 horsepower. Let's jump inside now, check out all the interior features, and then let's go out and give it a drive and do some performance testing. So inside, we hit the door handle, of course, the car pops right up, allows you to get inside. We got a nice mix of leather, Alcantara. This comes with the Bose stereo. Interestingly enough, you cannot get the optional Burmeister in this car. Over here, we got the optional Turbo GT lit up with the carbon fiber. I believe this is about a $2,000 option. Inside, we got the Turbo GT on the seats, Alcantara mix of leather, Alcantara steering wheel, and this is the revised interior for the Taycan as well. Onto the rear, of course, you can see that we got no rear seats. We're starting from left to right. Over here we got our controls for your mirrors and your windows. Over here we got memory seating, the door opener, and then we got the steering wheel, which is very familiar to Porsche owners. You got your volume control. This selects different things over here. This goes to the next track. That's your special button that selects special features. Down here we got our Porsche Active Suspension Management System. This is how you adjust the different suspension modes. So you got Sport, Sport Plus, and then that raises and lowers the car as well. You can set a little blinking indicator. This button right here is your drive mode. So you can have range mode for maximum range. You can hit Sport normal. You can move on to Sport, and then Sport Plus, which activates these weird sounds as well. Now this is the button right here for that full attack. This is not gonna work obviously because it's not in drive. You can either use this button or this button to engage the additional horsepower. This is almost like a nitrous button. I'm gonna show you what it's like, but you can be floored this car and it's actually pretty fast. When you pull on this back paddle right here, it instantly feels like you got like 160 shot of nitrous in the car. It's a pretty cool experience. Maybe from the Fast and the Furious, like, too soon, Junior. Hit that button and go. Too soon, Junior. I really like the new layout because the steering wheel kind of goes in between these button areas, and in my Turbo S it actually blocks one of the gauges, and this is actually a touch screen as well here. So on the left you got your kind of light controls, and the power button right here is to turn the car on and off. And over to the right we got our traction control. There's two settings. You can hold it down a little bit to go to level 1 where it's limited, and you hold it down for a very long time and it'll actually turn it completely off. So there, a PSM switched off. Over here we got our suspension settings, so you can cycle through the different settings. This is kind of the same thing as what this button is doing down here. We got a raise and lower, and then another special access button that you can program for whatever you want. This screen in here in front of you is actually quite configurable. You can use this button right here to cycle through which one you want to toggle. So we're going left and right. If you do that, you can go through tire temperatures, you can go through tire pressures, you can go through G-forces, your speedo. I usually like to, in your battery percentage and your battery temperature, I like to leave this on the G-forces. In the middle, if you hit the button, go to the middle, you can actually cycle through and go through different modes of the center display. So you can bring up your nav in the middle, and then the left and right gauges. You can go full nav across the whole screen with your mile an hour at the top. And then you can go much simpler display with just a mile an hour in the middle. I prefer to be on this mode right here because it displays the most information. If you hit the button again, we go over to the right side, and then you could cycle through different things like your lap times, your trip and speed and energy usage. your navigation position and so forth. So that's for the right side right there. Down here on this little stalk down here, we have our cruise control and so forth. Interesting enough, this doesn't have the option for that InnoDrive or any full self-driving capabilities. I think they just wanted to keep it simple. So those options are on some of the other Porsches. You can't get it on the Taycan Turbo GT. On the right, we got 2 more screens. We actually got a screen just for your climate control and some shortcuts. This has that kind of a matte finish to it, and it's that haptic feedback. When you press on it, it gives you a little thump underneath your finger. I feel like this feedback is great, but the screen with the matte finish sometimes gets a little bit of glare, and it's kind of hard to read given this angle. The one at the top has the matte finish as well. Because it's kind of covered right here, we don't get that intrusion of light that covers it up. Up here we got our standard kind of Porsche things with a bunch of options here. You can actually watch YouTube in here. There we go, look at that. We got SF90 versus 765 LT. That's pretty loud. Some additional options. We got our sport chrono for lap timing. We have our performance screen, which is actually pretty cool. So this shows your tire temperatures and tire pressures. I have a little lower because I'm about to do some performance testing, and I contacted Porsche on what exactly pressures to use. You have a dynamic screen which shows your brake pressure and power. So I'm pressing the brake and power so you can get an indications there. You got your tires, you got your drive mode, which shows your power output, and then energy mode right here. We show 90% state of charge. This is our battery temperature, and then your power output, and then your overboost power output when you're pressing this paddle or this button right here. There's actually 3 pages in here, and if you want to adjust the order, you press this button. You can go and adjust the sorting and move the icons however you want. I think that's super cool because a lot of stuff you don't use, so you could push all your favorites to a specific area or a specific page in here. Over there we have our navigation that's built into the car. Down here we got our built-in audio options. Of course, this has Apple CarPlay, which I'll show you in a second to see what that looks like. And then we have our driving page, which shows what mode you're in. So we're in sport, the suspension level, the electric sports sound, which you hear when we go for a drive. You got some of your assistance features, your trip, and then your comfort modes for active ride, driver, and passenger seat. And you can actually adjust this passenger seat from the screen, which is cool. The Turbo GT has CarPlay, both wired and wireless. I've got my phone plugged in, so we can click on the CarPlay icon right there and bring up your CarPlay stuff. Pretty standard right there. Also some shortcuts down here. If you can be on this screen and just control what's going on up here, whether you want CarPlay, telephone, navigation, and so forth. To control the AC vents is weird, right? Because you kind of want to grab onto this. It looks like something you can grab onto, but they don't move at all. It's all controlled via the screen here. So if you press this AC menu button, that'll bring up a diagram here where you can just kind of aim the vents using your finger. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but there's the shortcut to get to that. I'm glad I found that because before I was going through here and cycling through all these screens to find where to actually do the climate control, which is right there. So shortcuts along here are a great addition to this lower panel. On through the center console, we got 2 cup holders. The button here to open up this is where you plug in your USB-A, and it looks like USB-C. Down here we have our glove box pop open. Good there. And of course on the right side we got our memory seats for the passenger as well. Also down here we have our park assist button that brings up the rear camera. And as you can see, we only got 1 camera in this car, which is kind of weird. I kind of would have expected maybe a 360 camera system here. That's not available. Over here's a little car camera washer feature. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get the car dirty. Also down here you can control your volume as well. And then there's the battery option right here, which shows you can pre-cool or heat the battery. We are at 90% with a range of 211 miles. And just in case you might have forgot you're in the Weissach package because of the lack of rear seats, there's a nice little badge over here showing the Weissach option. So enough walk around and feature talk. Let's take this thing out for a drive, see what the Taycan Turbo GT Weissach's all about, and let's see what the best 0 to 60 we get out of this thing, and quarter mile. All right, so we're off. First thing you'll notice is it makes a lot of noises. It's got this whirring, I think they call it electronic sound. It's a free option that you put on the car, and you can actually turn it on and off, but it might be by default on when you use the drive mode here, and we're in Sport Plus. So down here is the drive mode button. You can start off in range, and as you can see, it got a lot quieter. You don't hear that noise. And then we're gonna put it in normal mode. Now this adjusts the suspension and the throttle response and a lot of different parameters. And I notice a pretty big difference when you put it in normal and then go to Sport Plus. Now, don't forget, this is a GT car, so it has a lot to live up to with that GT name. So like GT3 RS, 4 RS, GT2 RS, like that's the lineage that this car is going after. All right, so we're in normal mode. Suspension seems pretty compliant. Not too stiff, but we're gonna dial it up. Let's go into Sport Plus mode. We got a sweeper coming up here. Now all of a sudden oh geez. So we got a nice sweeper coming up here. Oh man, this thing handles. Jeez. Now that's not even using turbo boost. Brakes, we got the large ceramic brakes. Oh man, scrubs off the speed real well. Now, of course, we have this paddle right here on the right. That enables attack mode and adds 160 horsepower. So I'm gonna show you kind of how that works. You only have to press it once. It's not like you have to hold it down to get that full power. So if I get up here and I'm gonna hammer it, I'm gonna pull that button. So here we go. Oh, it actually spun right there. Let me get on a better piece of pavement right here. So I'm gonna slow down and let's see what this kind of acceleration boost is all about. Don't forget, we got 777 horsepower all the time. When we pull this button, when we pull the paddle, press the button, we get a boost of 160 horsepower. So here we go. Okay, pull it. Oh, jeez. You got 9 seconds of this acceleration. Wow, this thing starts moving real quick. Now, something that's interesting with the Taycan Turbo S, because it only allows you to get 10 seconds of power, you can see where a half-mile race might be a little interesting, because let's say you launch it, you're going half mile, after about 10 seconds, you're gonna lose that 160 horsepower boost. I'm just not so sure like when you can press this button again. Like, is there a wait time period, or as soon as it expires, can you just go ahead and hammer it again? I don't really have enough real estate to test that out to go half mile today, but interesting question if we ever get the Taycan Turbo GT out on the half mile of how it would be. Suspension is, I mean, this, you could see why this is the quickest car around the Nürburgring. I mean, it just very responsive. The seats are pretty good. They're not bucket seats, which is great. I wouldn't want that in this car anyways. I wouldn't want the big side pieces kind of annoying me in a car like this, but they're actually pretty supportive. Now you might be wondering, there's a plus button over here for more power, but what does the minus button do on this side? That activates more regen. So you see, if I can press this button here, it gives me more regen on that little dial right there. And if I take it off, the regen lowers. This does not have your traditional one pedal driving like a Tesla does. It's got a little bit of back off when you leave the regen on, but nothing like a Tesla. You just definitely have to use the brakes, and you can feel it when you press the brakes, the regen really activates, and that's indicated on the screen right here when it goes green. Now, Porsche still went with the dual motor setup in this Turbo GT with the 2-speed transmission on the rear, and you can still feel it shift pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and press the button here, and you can feel it at about 72 miles an hour. You can feel it slam into second gear. All right, here we go. Taycan Turbo GT Weissach. Quarter-mile testing. We got the launch control ready to go. Really easy to do in this car. All you do is hold down your left on the brake, stomp on the throttle. It'll go into launch mode and just let go. 0 to 60 is supposed to be pretty crazy. Launch control engaged. Activated. Oh, geez. Wow, the brakes are really good. These carbon ceramics. Still got quite a bit of wheel spin. We are taking this to the drag strip in a couple days, and when this thing dead hooks, man, that launch is gonna be crazy. A little bit of kind of spinning. We're heating up the tires quite a bit now, so we're like 116 degrees. These Trofeo RS tires really need to be quite hot to stick. So I think this car could get a little quicker as the tires get a little hotter. All right, here's another 0 to 60 test. Unfortunately, this is a really good piece of pavement on the street, but not enough room to do a quarter mile, only 0 to 60. And this thing's ripping off 0 to 60 in low 2s without the rollout. Let's try it again. Launch engaged. Oh, jeez, this is insane. so the results are crazy. 0 to 60 on the street was 2.0. That is without the rollout. With the rollout, that's 1.89 seconds. Now, Porsche says this car does 0 to 60 in 2.1, and that's a lot of wheel spin. I know you really can't see it in the video, but it is hopping along to get that 0 to 60. We're taking this car to the drag strip in a couple days, and we're also bringing the Tesla Plaid. If this thing dead hooks, it's going to 0 to 60 in well under 2 seconds without the rollout. And with the rollout, I don't know, maybe it hits like 1.79 with the rollout. Crazy, crazy. Now that stretch of pavement is a really good launch spot, but I can't do full quarter mile. Full quarter mile was 9:28 at over 150 miles an hour. 60 to 130 was 4.69. That's right on par with Tesla Plaid. But you will notice on the top end, the 150 was 4.9. So it tends to slow down towards the top end. And as I said, if the power boost drops off towards the top end, you're going to lose that extra 160 horsepower. But in the quarter mile, it's running at 9 seconds. So we still should be full power throughout the full quarter mile. So that wouldn't really apply until we get way higher in a half-mile test. Gotta say, super impressive. 0 to 60 in 2.0 on the street without the rollout is crazy. I expect better times at the track in just a few days. We're taking Taycan Turbo GT, my Tesla Plaid with the track pack, and I believe the Lucid Sapphire is gonna show up as well. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the thumbs up, helps the video and the channel. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next video.